Hello everybody and welcome back to NCAA 2004 in the Alabama Crimson Tide Dynasty mode. And we are back with a very interesting game that I didn't originally plan to record for this season, and that's Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs, the 3-1 Georgia Bulldogs, who are on the cusp of entering the top 25. Obviously, if they can win this game, they will probably make it in there, probably make it pretty far in there, probably even make it in the top 20, but even if they lost to us, I don't think they would fall all that far. They probably wouldn't fall out of the top 35, maybe? I don't know. Well, we'll see what the rankings do for them. But either way, Georgia has put together a decent start to the year, more so than any other team on her schedule. Tennessee's got a losing record. Ole Miss has a losing record. I'm pretty sure LSU's winless at the time I'm recording this. I'm pretty sure they haven't gotten a win. So yeah, it's a very, very odd state of affairs here in the SEC. I dread to even look at the standings. Like, I dread to even look at the standings at the end of the season, because it's going to be just brutal. At this point, it's looking like only us and Arkansas will have like an actual decent record, and then yeah, Georgia, depending on what they do, I mean, they're 3-1, but that's like, it's still the first half of the season. Lord knows what they're going to look like at the end of the season, even if they did manage to beat us today. You know what I mean? Like, Lord knows what that looks like. So, one of the important storylines to look at here is Ernest Slaughter. Even though I've really kind of liked what I've seen from him in the last couple weeks since going to him at starter, he's helped us win our two biggest games of the year. The interception numbers are starting to tend up a little bit. He's starting to average that one interception per two touchdowns, kind of like Dre Gates did in his first season as a starter. So that's something to look at. So we might be going back to Cal Lumpkin, who could protect the football a little bit more, even if he's kind of the quote-unquote worst option of the three. He just protects the football more, which is something that we need, especially now, because as I'm talking about this, Ernest Slaughter can't go a couple passing attempts without jeopardizing the football. So last game he was really, really effective against Arkansas, and it was a weird situation where the few incompletions that he did have managed to be pretty catastrophic. And so, you have a guy who's throwing over 70% of his passes, or completing over 70% of his passes, but, in that 30% that he's not completing, those are interceptions, or they're turnovers, and that's a dangerous game to play here, especially against teams like Arkansas and like Colorado State. But we're still managing to win, so we're just going to monitor that problem now, as Georgia is set up with a pretty decent scoring chance, but on a 3rd and 11, that pass from Pickett cannot be completed. It looked like maybe to the fullback, Sean Gay, the fullback. But now on 4th down, Georgia's going to rely on special teams to get them some points off of that Ernest Slaughter interception, and they're going to do just that. So Georgia does manage to strike first following the early Alabama turnover, and now we are facing a 3rd and 10 just past midfield. A huge shot down the sideline from Slaughter all the way to Lou Newsome is completed for a huge pickup, and that connection right there has been working pretty well, Mr. 88 and Mr. 16. But it's already 3rd down again on a 3rd and 3. Slaughter, trying to break free on the option play, just gets it out to Bowen out of desperation, and Bowen's got absolutely nowhere to go. All that momentum was completely killed as Slaughter was unable to find an open running lane to establish that kind of that option. So on 4th and 5, bring out Owens here for another field goal attempt, and he nails it through, and so that is going to give us at least a tie game, at least 3 points to tie Georgia's early 3 points. So already the Bulldogs have kind of stifled our offensive production here in this first quarter, but it's 3rd and 9 now for the Bulldogs, deep in their own end, and Pickett takes a deep shot downfield, and that pass is going to be completed, and that with a broken tackle, and there's no one left behind to catch up to the receiver, and that's going to be a touchdown for the Georgia Bulldogs. As Mickey Pickett, that's his name, Mickey Pickett, the quarterback for Georgia, manages to get a nice big old pass down the seam here, and that is all the way to Jabari Paulding. A lot of weird names on the Georgia team, but Jabari Paulding is one of the most established contributors on this Georgia offense. He's been around for the last 3 seasons, contributing at some level, but he's only got like 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns across his 3 seasons as a primary starter for this offense. So it's been really kind of tough for the Bulldogs, but we are answering back here immediately as Lou Newsome's going to get a big touchdown of his own. And that is only the 3rd touchdown for Lou Newsome of the season. So, and Slaughter, yeah, he's praising because he has no idea how that pass just got there without being tipped or intercepted. And under some pressure, too. So, heads up play by Slaughter. I will give him the flowers here because he definitely turned that into something, whenever it very easily could have been nothing. So, thanks to Lou Newsome and Ernest Slaughter with the heads up play, we now have a tie ball game once again here in the second quarter. So, Slaughter going with the option play once again here. Pitches that one off dangerously to Marquise Bowen, but Bowen able to bounce outside with a spin move. in a couple juke plays, and he is able to get pushed out of bounds, but not before getting a first down. And so now we fast forward to a 3rd and 7 inside the 30 of Georgia here, and Slaughter tries to get that one out towards the sideline, the other end of the field, and that pass is broken up. And so we saw that very same DB give up the massive touchdown to Lou Newsome, and he said, no, I'm not doing that again. We're not giving up any more on this end. So Kendall Owens with a very long field goal on a 4th and 7, but he does manage to get it through. Now, we've seen Owens miss a bit of a longer one before. He's still pretty young in his kicking career, so we expect a little bit more over time, but, you know, I'm not expecting the world of him right now. But 13-10 is your score, and now the Bulldogs moving the other way. Pickett trying to maneuver a pretty crowded pocket, and he does manage to find an open receiver as I look over the sheet, and that is Jacob Brandt, the 3rd receiver listed on this depth chart. He's a sophomore, and he gets himself another reception in this game. So 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs now, and Pickett lines one across the middle to Paulding once again, who finds an open lane to get into the end zone. And now Paulding's got 4 touchdowns on the season. He came into this game with 2, and he's having a big game right now in Tuscaloosa against this Crimson Tide team. So we got to be careful against this Georgia offense because, again, all the stats are not jumping off the page. Even Mickey Pickett has had a very impressive start to the year. It's kind of similar to Ernest Slaughter's. And remember, we started Ernest Slaughter a couple weeks into the season, so Mickey Pickett's not really been the most electrifying for the Bulldogs offense, but they are finding a way to make things work. And now Slaughter leans in with just under a minute left to go in the first half, and that's going to give us another touchdown, a game-leading or a go-ahead touchdown, rather, as they say in the business. A go-ahead touchdown against these Bulldogs late in the first half. And pending the extra point, we'll, of course, take a 3-point lead over Georgia as we head into the 3rd quarter. And here we are again battling another SEC opponent, a fringe SEC opponent at that, despite the 3-1 here. I know that we are better than these Bulldogs, so we got to be careful now as Mickey Pickett with a beautiful arm punt tries to find Jabari Paulding. I have no idea what on earth happened there because Paulding was nowhere in the vicinity. Only Solomon was in the vicinity, and he was able to get the interception. Another interception, mind you. He's had himself a great season so far. He's been everywhere, electrifying. But heading the other way now, Mickey Pickett finds Jacob Brandt for another completion, and now Georgia is cooking with some grease as we stalled out after the Georgia interception. So now on a 2nd and 15 now inside of our 40-yard line, Pickett trying to maneuver a crowded pocket again, ends up throwing it kind of backwards to the running back, and that's going to count as a fumble, and that's going to be scooped up by the Crimson Tide and head the other way. So Pickett tried to find Wendell Clement, the running back, and just kind of an awkward throw backwards. It just, I don't know, man, the play kind of fell apart, and now another turnover for Georgia is going to give us a prime opportunity, and Ernest Slaughter's wasting 0 time as he finds Ben Medley here, the new freshman, donning that number 80 in absence of Cliff Herman. You know, with some of the great 80s that we've had where, what are the great receiver numbers that we've had? 80, 89, I think 83. I think those are the 3, like, big receiver numbers that we have. We haven't had a ton outside of those 3. Those are, like, the big, you know, but we're going to retire 89. I think probably, when I remember to do it, I've meant to do it, like, the last, like, 2 seasons, and I just honestly keep forgetting to do it, to keep switching off people off of 89. So when we have the next 89 graduate, we're going to retire it, I promise. But Ernest Slaughter on another tipped interception. A ball gets batted around and it's intercepted, and this time there's no one back there to stop him. Ernest Slaughter's the lead guy, and he can't get there. Marquise Bowen's trying to run and catch up, but maybe if the football field was at least 200 yards, he would have caught up. But either way, Georgia's going to get a pick 6 now, so things were going so great. We took a nice 10-point lead over Georgia, and now a tipped ball ends up in the hands of a Georgia linebacker and returned all the way back in the end zone for a pick 6. So very, very brutal turn of events here in this game as Georgia is now thrusted themselves into this game, but now just 2.5 minutes left to go. Georgia needs to get the ball back any way that they can. So Solomon, fielding the kick here, finds an opening in the middle of the field just with a burst of speed, and there's no one back there that's going to catch him, man. Absolutely nobody is going to catch Solomon as he is gone for a kick return. So he's got an interception and a kick return in this ball game, and that's going to be the score that's going to ice this football game, ladies and germs. And watch this again, just completely burst through the middle of the field, bro. Found that opening, just a little pocket opened up, and he just surged on through it. And that is probably like the first kick return I think we've watched in this entire series. Do you guys think so? I think it is. So 10 points left in the game, and on 4th and 21, Georgia is going to try out of desperation to get anything going. They wasted a ton of time just trying to get anything going, and another sack is going to turn the ball over on downs. They already got sacked a couple times, and just trying to run some clock out, hand it off to Sharp, and he's going to find his way up the middle into the end zone for his second touchdown of the season. Why not, man? Pad the stats. Go ahead, Jamal Sharp. Get yourself whatever numbers that you can. And so we're going to take another touchdown, going to make the score look a little bit more impressive than maybe it initially was on the surface, but we end up kind of thrashing the Bulldogs here late in this ball game, even though, again, Georgia definitely hung a little bit closer, and definitely hung a lot closer than the scoreboard implies. Okay, really kind of a couple weird fluky plays in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter kind of completely unraveled Georgia's chances of winning this football game. But outside of that, they played a pretty decent game, or at least their defense really did. Their defense kind of did enough to keep them in this game. But there you see that rushing stat for Georgia, man. They could not protect the quarterback, and that's been a trend we've been seeing recently, guys. Our defensive line has been getting a lot of penetration, so that's typically an issue I struggle with in these series, just kind of getting the Sims to accurately represent, sacks and stuff like that. But we have a very, very strong defensive line that's been able to get a lot of pressure, and it's been able to get a lot of penetration on the offensive line, and we've been getting to the quarterback a lot, forcing a lot of mistakes, getting a lot of sacks, making a lot of contact, which is great, man. It's probably one of the biggest strengths of this team, which is a shame because normally it's, stuff like the quarterback and the skill positions, you know what I mean? And that's really not been one of our bread and butters the last couple of seasons. It's kind of been where we've struggled and had to win in spite of. But thankfully, we have something that's working on this team here. Dude, Luke Lang, goodness gracious, 12 pancakes and 0 sacks. That dude was having an absolute field day out there. He was feasting on Georgia's defensive line. Goodness gracious. So, coming out of the Hub World now, we pick up a win against Wyoming, out of conference win. We do pick up a big win against Ole Miss, and we barely escaped Tennessee by just 2 points against a 4-5 Tennessee. They were 500 at the time of that, and I think they were even ranked. If I go back through the footage, I'm pretty sure they were ranked at the time of that game, which is weird. A 4-4 Tennessee team ranked like 23rd or 24th, but that is what happened. And then elsewhere in college football, we get some help from the Hawkeyes as the Penn State Nittany Lions are now knocked out after losing to the Hawkeyes in a pretty huge upset on the road even for Iowa. So big game for the Hawkeyes. That's a historic game for them. But Penn State now kind of knocked out of things. They were in the top 4, top 5, something like that, and now they're well out of it. And so simming the rest of the weeks of the season against these awful SEC teams, and we pick up massive wins against Mississippi State, LSU, and, of course, Auburn. So here are your bowl rankings here. Us, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Texas sit atop here at the top 4 without any losses. Virginia Tech and Arkansas don't really have a shot at it, not at all. Texas doesn't even really have a shot at it because, as we know, Notre Dame and Ohio State don't have conference championships, so they're pretty much locks where they're at. So it's down to us. So if we win the SEC championship, we will be playing Ohio State for the national championship. But, of course, if we manage to lose to Vanderbilt somehow, then Notre Dame will probably hop us in, even though Texas, with the extra game against Kansas in the Big 12 championship, should probably get that outside bid, but looking at the computer, it's probably not going to favor that way. I'm not sure what kind of games Notre Dame has on their schedule to give them that benefit of the doubt, but it looks like that's how the computer is going to favor them anyway. So we're carrying a 22-game win streak into Atlanta against Vanderbilt's 2-game win streak, and this is probably, I think, the 3rd time we're playing Vanderbilt in the SEC championship, so who knows? Maybe Vanderbilt gets over the hump, but we are desperately trying to get back to the national championship, so hope to see you guys back in Atlanta when we take on Vanderbilt once again for the SEC title.